This computer is amazing, or rather, it will be amazing. When Apple announced its new M1 chips, I was skeptical. They boasted it was more powerful and used less energy than competing chips, and as an audio professional, I wanted to know if it was capable of handling the rigors of my industry, real-time workflows, and quiet operation. So I bought one to find out, and the results have been, well, interesting. Now, the one aspect of this computer that is not appropriate for professional composers is the RAM limitation. Most professional composers are using at least 64 gigabytes of RAM, and some might even like to use a little bit more. But I figured the current 16 gigabyte limitation is just a question of time. How did the chip itself handle the pressure of real-time audio processing and bottlenecks? Let's find out. I figured Logic Pro would be a good place to start, given that it's made by Apple. After a few installs that thankfully worked on Big Sur, I was able to do a couple of interesting tests in both real-time and offline processing. Unfortunately, the drivers for my interface, UA Apollo 8, wouldn't install, so everything is being done through the internal sound card. I created a session, set the buffer size to 32, and added 1,000 tracks of audio, playing back the same file, and was able to put 3 plugins on each track before I started getting playback errors. That's over 3,000 plugins running at once. Next up, I decided to try some non-Apple plugins, ones that use a little bit more CPU. I loaded up 5 FabFilter plugins on 40 audio tracks and was able to get respectable playback at a 32 buffer size. Of course, audio tracks and plugins aren't everything. How does it handle instrument plugins? Native Instruments wouldn't install, so we'll have to wait and find out for that, but I was able to do some tests with Spitfire's BT Phobos synth. With both computers set to a buffer size of 32, the MacBook Pro was able to play back 100 channels without any noticeable clicks and pops. The M1 Mac Mini was only able to handle about 60 tracks before overload issues, which is impressive given that it's running on half as many cores. In what was certainly a big surprise to me, the latest version of Pro Tools installed without a problem. I decided to try some similar tests with software that wasn't optimized for Apple Silicon. The 40 audio tracks with 5 FabFilter plugins also worked like a charm at 32 buffer size. I was even able to record 40 audio tracks with all those plugins active. That's mind-blowing without the plugins. So while I'm not able to put 1,000 audio tracks in Pro Tools, I was able to load up 128 audio tracks with 10 Avid plugins running without any issues. For my last test, I wanted to see how well the M1 Mac Mini could handle some offline processing using Isotope RX's patch processor. I actually compared this test with 2 other computers. In one test, the Mac Mini came in last, but only a tiny bit slower than a fully maxed out 16-inch MacBook Pro, but in another test, the Mac Mini came in first place, beating out the MacBook Pro in a most impressive way. I will give more details about that test in a future video. I had no idea what to expect when I set out, but the Mac Mini has impressed me in every single way. I don't know what's more impressive, the fact that it's able to keep up with a computer that costs nearly 4 times as much, or that it can do so while remaining completely silent. In all my tests, the fan never kicked in audibly, not even once. While this machine might not be ready for most working professionals right now, I think the potential is huge. In a year or two, we're going to see improvements to the chip, likely more RAM as well, and of course, software that is optimized to work with it. In the meantime, this computer could be great for people starting out or as a secondary workstation or editing suite where RAM isn't maybe as important. Once Pro Audio software and drivers are updated, I may even consider selling my MacBook Pro in favor of Apple Silicon. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you found this helpful and interesting. I'll be doing some more videos showing the machine in action, so please like and subscribe if you want to see some more. Thanks so much.